Afternoon everybody. I thought I'd do another video today. I'd actually thought I'd round up on strategy because I think it needed to be clearer and more succinct. So I thought I'd give you a blow-by-blow tangible example of what strategy is, how it's executed and what that physically looks like. So I thought the most powerful example of an effective strategy is actually partially what I mentioned in the last video, but I thought I'd give greater depth to that. So I'll use Live Company Group, or Brick Live as it's publicly known. So we started off as an exhibition business, and then once we'd acquired a company called Bright Bricks, which I served as the chairman of, we moved into trails. So it took brick models, an elephant, a lion, a tiger, a spaceman, a dinosaur, and we placed those models in trails, which if you look at the map now, you'll see we drop them around the city centre, the shopping mall, the zoo, whatever that might be. And then with an interactive map, some questions and some games, the families take part and went around. So the strategy was to make ourselves the UK's #1 family content driver of footfall. That's the headline. So how do we grow the trail business? Effectively what the objective was. So once we've got that objective, the strategy off the back of that then became the rollout of the IP programme. So we took the initial objective, translated into the strategy, as I said, was to become the UK's #1 family attraction or footfall driver through brick-based content. And what we needed then was scale. So I took the strategy then and I led the programme with help from a colleague, and I was sat having breakfast one day and I'd been playing with the idea of how do you take these trails that were super effective, anywhere north of 13% up to 30% increase in footfall, but we'd only got 4 or 5 tours at this point, or trails. And they were becoming more popular, but we weren't really at a kind of point of critical mass. And we were always debating what should the next idea be, and should it be pirates, and as I mentioned previously we did space with the anniversary landings. But for me there was always something bigger than that. There had to be a bigger play, because people didn't grasp what we did. They thought we were an exhibition business, which we were and still are, but actually there was much more to that. We were a family content provider, and the trails were the single best advocate of what was possible with the business and the products that we had. And I was having breakfast one day with my kids, and I was watching an episode of Paw Patrol while having a bagel. And I'd been scrolling through I think we had 30 ideas that had been emailed to me for me to take a view on what the next trail is that we were going to build. But I wasn't convinced. They were great ideas, but I just thought ultimately there's more to this than what we're doing here. There's other ideas. And as I was watching this episode of Paw Patrol, I thought, why can't we do that? Why can't we take the nation's most loved, best known programmes, characters, TV shows, and bring them to life through bricks? Our models are world class. We've got a super brilliant design team, amazing builders, and the ability to actually turn this into something. We've got a tried and tested business model, which is really important, particularly when we get to the pitch, because you're asking people to take a punt on you anyway, because we're fairly fledgling business. But at least you can demonstrate what happens when someone installs a trail or takes one of these tours and puts it in a location. So off the back of that then became the strategy of how do you approach these businesses, because we're just some kook Joe Blogs off the streets. So my colleague who worked with me on the project started to create a deck, a sales deck of here's what we've done and here were the tangible results. I'm, I suppose, slightly more left field and a bit less traditional, and I'd been badgered to have a LinkedIn profile. So we took the LinkedIn profile, and because I was an exec director, chairman, it gave me some, I suppose, clout to a degree. And my colleague made my LinkedIn profile and then started to educate me on the benefits of social platforms, which is ironic given that I'm sat here doing this video. And then we started to reach out to people, and eventually through someone who knew someone who knew someone, I got to the SVP for EMEA at Nickelodeon, and that lady was kind enough to take my call. Many wouldn't, and we'd reached out to a number of people at this point, and they were the first business that really gave us a chance. But why that's important is you should never give up. We had a number of false starts, but actually the lady at Nickelodeon took that phone call, which is a story in itself. At this point, it's just a concept. It's just an idea. It's taking 3 or 4 existing trails that we have that are selling like hotcakes, but actually taking them to a level that gave us kind of critical mass or national recognition. So I get the phone call with the SVP at Nickelodeon, and she's sceptical, as you would expect. The phone call's going great, but I say I'm the chairman of this company. We do amazing models. They're world class. She's already viewed the links, so she knows from the deck that we've made that what we make is quality and that we're not some fly-by-night. But I'm trying to demonstrate to her that actually I know the brands and that we can be trusted with them. And in my infinite wisdom, I decide to sing the theme tune to Paw Patrol and Shimmer and Shine. And instead of hanging up on me, she invites me in for a meeting 72 hours later. So we're in front of her, who's the SVP of marketing, events and experiences, I think her title is. But she also puts us in the room with the SVP for the same region, Europe and a few other locations, but for licensing. So we do the pitch in person. My colleague who's done the deck, he is a huge advocate, and I caveat this with also very correct about preparation is key. But for me, if we prepared for that too much, you can't react for what might come at you. And it was the first time we'd done this, so my advice to him had been kind of, let's strap in. You've got the deck, we know what we're doing, we understand the business model, and this will be a big meeting, and we know what we're doing is good, and we just need to back ourselves. So we get into the meeting. I'm introduced as the guy that sang the theme tune, and to some degree that actually played to our strengths, because we are an unusual business with some unusual products and I suppose unusual staff, but ultimately we did it in a way that showed that we were credible, and credibility is hugely important. So we pitch, it feels like it goes well. We're not given a direct indication, but I've left the meeting fairly confident that this has gone as I would have wanted it to. My colleague's less sure, and we're walking down the road through London, back out of Camden, and he says to me, I don't know how that went. And I said, I'm pretty certain that went brilliantly. So he's like, well, how do you know? And I said, because I'm already looking at an email with an opening offer. So from there on in became the rollout of the IP programme. So come back to the strategy about being the UK's #1 content provider for families that is essentially driving footfall. What we then did was roll out a hugely aggressive IP programme. We were very loyal, very cognisant of Nickelodeon, who gave us our first opportunity, And we went from a UK licensing deal, which launched in Blackburn and went to places like Luton, Bracknell and Birmingham, which was the biggest one, and we had over 150,000 people go through that trial. Which I think is something I take huge pride in, because that was a concept made over eating a bagel with my children, and within 6 or 7 months, over 100,000 people had taken part in it. And for me, that was kind of the pinnacle of when you've come up with an idea that is aligned with the strategy and everything that you do points in that direction. But what we did then was we decided that we needed to take the strategy a stage further and actually develop the IP program into something itself. So we took the original strategy and that moved into taking it on a level and becoming one of the leaders in the space for kind of IP specialisms. And from there, so with Nickelodeon, we secured Paw Patrol, SpongeBob SquarePants, Shimmer and Shine, Top Wing, Blaze and the Monster Machines, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Abby Hatcher and a few others. And then very, very quickly we were able to add, through Penguin, Snowman and the Snow Dog, Entertainment One with Peppa Pig. We've latterly announced with Penguin again, Peter Rabbit. And then we added, most recently through Copyright, Paddington. So as a parent of a 2-year-old and a 6-year-old, for me, there's an immense amount of joy in taking all of the TV programmes and all of the films that my children love dearly and bringing them to life through something that is understandable. And I think that's also made the journey more possible, because you learn to become the expert. And I think as I went into these meetings, you go in assuming that everybody's going to know more than you, and you have to be humble. Know what you know, but don't pretend to know what you don't. But what became really clear to me was through watching these programmes religiously with my kids, I had a really sound grasp of the characters, the brands, what the company would look for from us. So we became a very safe partner to pick, because we had a product that was excellent, that was very low risk, very low maintenance, high customer satisfaction, great yield, but actually was hugely scalable for these companies. And what became clear once we'd dealt with Nickelodeon and how the strategy kicked in to secure the others was that a lot of these businesses spent many tens, hundreds, thousands of pounds, maybe even millions globally, on running pop-up activations and experiences that brought the brand to life. And what we were pitching, albeit is a royalty, we were offering to create those experiences in a way they could manage, they could sign off, and their brand was protected, but for free. And not only for free, they were going to earn money from it. And actually, that's when you realise you're onto something, and pace becomes hugely important at that point. You have to execute well, but execute at speed. So we became, in our little field, in an industry that essentially didn't exist, trails made out of plastic bricks, we became the expert. So we started to go to the Entertainment One meeting, and we pitched the business model to them, which you could argue is ballsy, hopefully not bordering on arrogant, but by that point we felt confident that the business model, if we could deal with a company as large as Viacom CBS, which owns Nickelodeon, and come out with a deal that worked for us and worked for them, with some really big hitters, that actually this is a business model in itself. And we were no longer pitching for their permission, we were pitching to run their activations for them for free, and they will earn a royalty off the back of it. we're able to knock over Snowman, Peter Rabbit, Peppa Pig and Paddington. So I think for me, I thought it was a really tangible way to explain to you all what a strategy looks like at its infancy. We've created trails that were really good, but not enough people knew about them, and the sales were good in relative terms. But actually, if we want to be the UK's #1 content provider for families in terms of bringing footfall to other people's businesses, which I know sounds very wordy, but it's a very clear strategy. Actually, you need to think big. Coin a phrase, the sprat to catch the mackerel. For us, in securing these well-known IPs, there's only so many of them that exist, and there's only so many that we can build, and they were the hook. So if you inquired for the Paw Patrol or Peppa Pig or Peter Rabbit, but you couldn't get it, but you fell in love with our concept, what we could do is sell you the dinosaurs, the Animal Paradise, the Big Cats, the Fantasy Kingdom tour that was our own property, our own IP. And then maybe in 6 months' time, when it was available, you'd take the Paw Patrol asset. So why is that important? One, it brought us a customer we may never have got. Two, it got us the booking. And three, it actually got us 2 bookings. It didn't get us 1 booking, it got us 2, because it got us the initial inquiry, but because they were hooked on getting one of the IPs, they took one of our other tours first, followed by one of our others later in the year. And I think it's a hugely effective example and a powerful example of how a company can go into the offices of huge multi-billion-dollar conglomerates, and as long as they're confident in what they are, who they are and their proposition, you can come out with a deal that really is transformational for your business. So I thought, having looked back at the previous video, I thought I could make a more impactful video on what a strategy actually looked like and what happens when it's effectively delivered and executed. So hopefully that's been helpful. And as I say, I'm not afraid to kind of correct anything that I've done before, to make sure that everything I talk about and talk through is entirely understandable and entirely relatable for anybody that watches the videos. So just to summarise what the results then actually look like. So I'm talking to you in March of 2020. The entire IP programme was just an idea in my mind exactly 12 months ago today. So you fast forward 12 months, all the deals that I mentioned, Nickelodeon, Entertainment One, Copyright and Penguin. But we've been able to move quickly. So the Nickelodeon deal, that every deal started as a UK only deal, and the Nickelodeon deal, such as its success, has already moved to global rights with the exception of the USA. In terms of those tangible results, that shows you when each tour per year is worth a 6-figure sum once it's rented out a multiple of times, just how quickly you can scale up a business. And when I say a business, that's one tranche of the company. It's one entity, one department. It's not the whole company, but it shows that if you put the right people in the right area, just how quickly you can move and how effective that can be and how dramatic the effects can be in terms of the growth. But I caveat that with, you have to have good people around you. I'm supported by an individual who was with me every step of the way, and once we'd been as lucky as to secure the rights, the conversations, the initial conversations, then it kicked into having an exceptional design team that worked quickly and accurately. Once the designs were signed off, we then had to create brand assets, which was done by, again, another part, but a fantastic part of the marketing and design department. And then that goes into what is a fantastic sales team that were able to execute the sale and understood the rollout and the delivery that we were hoping to achieve. And then ultimately some super talented builders that then brought these brands to life and made sure that they looked exactly like they were supposed to be depicted. So things as a strategy are never just one person. It's never just the idea, but it is bringing everybody with you on the journey. The client, whether that's Nickelodeon or Entertainment One or whoever, but your staff, the people you work with or work for or they work for you, is making sure that you are all aligned. The IP programme having come up with it, executing and delivering it, and it ticking every box that I expected it to do. And you come up with a strategy yourself, because sometimes a lot of the best strategies are a collective view. That was probably a unique scenario where it was a single view, but actually without the buy-in of others, it's just a set of words on a page or in your mind explaining your vision, and being able to bring them with you along with that vision is as important as the initial strategy. So I hope that's been a tangible what a strategy can look like, and what is it when it is effectively delivered. So enjoy your weekends, everybody. Have a good time. Stay safe. Have a good one. Take care. See you in the next one. Bye.